we need to move on to, well, three other people, really, not just Sarah Ferguson, but also Beatrice and Eugenie that have been dragged into this. We discussed on the show in the past as to whether they should be infected by what's happening to their parents, and whether the royal family have basically kept their titles and put a kind of given them a warm embrace to stop them being dragged into it. But they've been dragged into it massively with these release of the Epstein files. Sarah Ferguson took Beatrice and Eugenie to see Epstein when they were 19 and 20, and she sent emails about, sent emails about Eugenie going off for a shagging weekend. You begin to question Sarah Ferguson now, Samara, surely.
Yes, you do. And Kate, I feel like you've got...
No, I was going to jump in there, but by all means, please. I mean, those emails, having been through the Epstein files myself, there's not all of them yet, but they are staggering. You know, this is a complete betrayal of by Sarah Ferguson of her daughters, in my mind, from reading through this. So let's roll it back. You know, just a few days after Epstein is released, having pleaded guilty to crimes of soliciting a minor for prostitution, she decides it's a good idea to ask him for plane tickets to go over there. It appears from the emails, you know, we have to say that these emails haven't been verified as genuine, but so far we've no reason to disbelieve them. Sarah Ferguson asks for flights over to see him, talks about her daughters going over to see him. There was a lunch with Epstein. She writes to Epstein, it seems, to say, thank you very much for seeing me and the girls. Your compliment to me in front of my daughters is one of the kindest things anyone's ever done. They were young girls at the time, young women, I should say, and those crude comments, you know, very intimate comments about her daughter Eugenie, who'd been away to see a partner or boyfriend at the time. You know, it's absolutely staggering that, fair enough, a relationship with this very powerful man prior to his conviction, but the fact that it continued. Now, Sarah Ferguson has always said that when she found out, she cut off contact with him. We've heard that story before from Andrew. But then we've seen emails in this latest dossier dump in which Sarah Ferguson actually begs Epstein to get back in touch with her. It seems that he cut her off, not the other way around. So there's all sorts of tales going on here. And in the middle of it all, you've got the two princesses who, you rightly say, have kept their princess titles. They are still House of York, you know, unlike their parents. Sarah's no longer a Duchess. Their father's no longer a Duke. They were invited, as we saw on Christmas, to spend Christmas with the royal family. And there has been this protective kind of ring of love that's been put around them by the king, who I'm sure feels incredibly sorry for them, and that's certainly what I've been told. Yeah, no, it's the same here. I mean, there is a concern for them. You know, there is a worry that they could be, you know, and they are. We're seeing it now. You know, there's a lot of sympathy surely for Beatrice and Eugenie.
I've got sympathy for them, absolutely. I mean, those emails that Fergie sent were just so sugary and tawdry. You just want to throw up, because it's like, you know, some of the quotes, marry me, this and that. I mean, she really, really had this obsession with Epstein and his money, clearly, and definitely was craving for his attention. But I think also Beatrice and Eugenie represent the privileged young girls in this situation who probably didn't have to deal with the wrath of Epstein and Andrew, because at the heart of it, Andrew and Epstein wanted to basically focus on young, underprivileged, vulnerable girls. I mean, the reason we don't have that many testimonies from women is because a lot of them were Eastern European, French, they didn't speak English, you know, they couldn't communicate properly. So I think it's an interesting juxtaposition to look at the daughters, who I feel very sorry for having been put in that situation, but also the way that they spoke about, and Andrew has spoken about girls their age at the same time. I just don't know how he compartmentalized that in those emails, because he was also, you know...
Yeah, this is a father and a mother of two young women.
Yes.
And then, you know, all this other stuff that was going on.
Well, it shows their disrespect for anyone below their class. You know, these were just basically disposable women for them. At least the victims, it seems, especially for Epstein.
Well, that's the point. Sorry.
No, please.
I was going to say, that's the point as well. We're talking about Andrew trying to do the honourable thing, and he has never, ever really expressed any sympathy for Epstein's victims, or really any true regret for having been friends with him, you know.
he's also never expressed, he's always expressed his innocence, and he's always have to add that, he has never.
Well, it's true to say he's always denied any allegation of wrongdoing, and the police, Metropolitan Police, have looked at it several times and said they've found no evidence of illegality in the UK and closed the case. I mean, whether that will remain the case if new evidence comes up, well, let's see.
We talk about Andrew having to testify or tell the authorities what he knows. Shouldn't Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely. She seems equally as complicit in this, in my opinion. She probably didn't abuse any young women, but who knows? I mean, in terms of, she seemed that she was okay with some of the stuff that was going on, looking at the emails. And I think, as we spoke about, Fergie hasn't really even got a place to stay at the moment. She's been tossed out. And I think
she's vulnerable at the moment, then, isn't she? She could speak out. She could go rogue, or she doesn't have anywhere to live. The royal family have kicked her out of Royal Lodge and said, "You find yourself private accommodation." She could talk to the authorities. There's no one telling her what to do. There's nobody making there's not palace sources asking her to examine her own conscience. She's free to do whatever she wants. She has nowhere to live.
Well, she's not related by blood to the king either, is she? But she was offered a place to live back at the start of the siege of Royal Lodge, because the king made it quite clear to Andrew and Sarah that they could live together, or he would find provision for her. He didn't want to punish her unnecessarily. I think that story has now changed quite significantly. But you're right. I mean, people forget that actually, if you go back and there's, tiresome that job that we do to go through, but a very important job to go through all the documents. One of the previous dossier releases from the US government was a transcript of an interview with Ghislaine Maxwell, who obviously is now serving 20 years for her part in Epstein's abuse of women. Now, in that, she said that it was Sarah Ferguson who first met Epstein and introduced him to Andrew. Apparently there was a party in the Bahamas, and that's where she met him. And then, so, she really does have a lot of questions to answer, and it's a really good point you raised. Should she be persuaded to testify too? Yeah,
interesting. Well, there's so many documents in this. I think, is it 10 million? Is it?
It's 3 million pages.
Yeah.
And that had been whittled down by 500 US lawyers who initially had 6 million pages.
Are you getting any more?
Well, they've said that they've fulfilled their mandate now. They were told to release the Epstein files. They believe now the Department of Justice in the US believes that it has fulfilled its duty, if you like. Having said that, it doesn't actually say that they wouldn't in future if they saw something worth disclosing.
It's not going to go away, guys.
And also, there's still so much within there that people are still going through. Still nuggets being pulled out.
Yeah, it's very nice to see even Virginia Giuffre's sort of accounts quite corroborated within this latest drop, because you can almost line them up and then see that she was totally being gaslit at some points. Of course, he still maintains his innocence, Andrew, as we spoke about, but it's putting together the pieces, as you say, and just sort of trying to figure out what exactly happened and who got away with what.
As I say, it's not going away. Another thing that's not going away is Meghan's Instagram page. Now, I don't sign up for alerts for As Ever or Meghan's Instagram page.
Lies.
Honestly, I sometimes pop onto Instagram and Matt Sun Royal, if anyone's put some whimsy
You're
posts
always
up.
on there, doom scrolling.
Yeah.
Help me. So she has launched a Valentine's Day chocolate collection, Samara, and
yes.
It's a collaboration with someone just before Christmas. So what's going on with Meghan and a Valentine's Day chocolate collection? She's
launched some chocolates. They're going for about, I think it's £10, 20, around that. Again,
quite cheap for Valentine's Day chocolates, isn't it?
She continues to repackage and package things up. Like, we know that she's got this surplus of jam because she over-ordered when she spoke to Bloomberg and said she was going to expand her business. It turns out there are some reports that say there are fulfillment centres full of these jam jars. Now, she's repackaged some of those and put them also in the Valentine's Day collection with some sort of cheap bow on the top. The chocolates are interesting. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to be rushing to Meghan's site to get some chocolates. I mean, knowing how men operate, it's usually a last-minute decision to rush out to a shop, grab a bunch of flowers.
Dare you.
This is now
I think I'm just going from personal experience here, but yeah, I just don't think anyone's that organized and calculated enough to go online and buy chocolates. I think this is just another failed sort of enterprise from Meghan, but I guess she, she's trying.